as far as religious books, things along that line, I would say spiritual. Oh boy, what's it called? It's David Bernard, and it's one of his newer ones. Not Spiritual Gifts, the other one. Spiritual Leadership in the 21st Century.
Okay. Yep.
Spiritual Leadership in the 21st Century by David Bernard. I like that one a lot. There's one called Dirty God by Johnny Moore, and it was really good. It's about getting your hands dirty, action, like you said, putting love into action. The Christian Atheist by Craig Groeschel. He's another author that I really like. I think he's pretty honest. He wrote Confessions of a Pastor, I think was the name of the book, and it was really good. But The Christian Atheist I really liked. One that Pastor Airwood preached a sermon from, and I think he actually gave me this book, and it was really good, is When the Game is Over, It All Goes Back in the Box by John Ortberg. Or maybe it's Everything Goes Back in the Box. Anyway, When the Game is Over, It All Goes Back in the Box, John Ortberg. You'll find it. Incredible book. Gives you perspective on life. We mentioned Velvet Elvis earlier by Rob Bell, and I did really like that book. I would think, whether or not you agree with it, I would say give it a read. Gods at War, you mentioned earlier, by Kyle Idleman. I've taught from that several times. I would highly recommend that for everybody. And then I'd like to give a couple recommendations that aren't religious books. Sure. Because I'm kind of a, I guess, business guy. I like business books. One that changed, it's not a very, I've heard people say this before, it's not a very good book. I don't know that I'd say it's not a very good book. It's probably not a great, really well-written book, but it's absolutely a life-changing book, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Okay. And he's not really, he'll tell you, he's not really a writer. He wasn't good in school. But it's really kind of paradigm shifting, and it definitely changed my view on a lot of things. On the other end of the spectrum is Financial Peace by Dave Ramsey. That's very good. That's
very good. Yeah, I've read Total Money Makeover as well.
Total Money Makeover is really good too. Those books probably interchangeable. I read both. They're great, but Kiyosaki and Dave Ramsey teach completely different perspectives. Yeah. I think they're both valid. But also, one I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to tell you, give you a caveat here. It's got some language in it. And if you read the book and like it, and you go to watch his videos, you're going to hear a lot more language. So I would say definitely read the book. But Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk was a very good business book. Very down to earth kind of guy, again, not really, it's actually a surprisingly good writer, really, but very down to earth. And if you're a business, and if you like business at all, marketing, Seth Godin's books are all great, but Tribes, I love Tribes by Seth Godin. And then I've mentioned before how Night by Elie Wiesel, I think is how you pronounce his name, and Hiroshima by John Hershey, and The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass. Those books really shaped how I view humanity. And
I've recently read the Frederick Douglass book.
I think it's a must read, really. Right, I would say
it's really good.
And that's pretty much it. I've got some other, I can give you other recommendations, but that's pretty much that's my main list. Probably.
Maybe we'll do like a blog post or something.
I think we should do a blog post with a list.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your go-to highly recommended books?
Okay, if you're pursuing ministry, and specifically pursuing ministry in the Apostolic Church, I highly recommend We Preach.
I've not read that yet.
By Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I really want to read that.
It's very good. And the other one is... I
have to be honest, the reason I didn't buy that when it first came out was I didn't like the title. The title was I'm not sure I know what he's going for, but it didn't hit me, you know what I mean? But I'm like, it's Jerry Jones, I gotta buy it.
It's a good book on sermon prep.
It is, that's what it is pretty much, okay.
And
I love Jerry Jones, and I gotta pick it up.
And so we had General Conference in Indianapolis a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think he just released it that at that conference.
Oh, right.
He had his book there. He was actually book signing, and I actually got it, and he signed the book for me. But, so I'm glad I read it. The other preaching book I highly recommend, and this is just, it's a good book if you want to know, like, the Pentecostal preachers a little bit more. And so it's called Life Preaching.
Okay.
It's by Jonathan...
Mark Jordan. Is it Mark Jordan? No, it's not. No.
Jonathan McClintock.
I've seen that book, I want to say, but I've not... What is it again? Life Preaching?
Life Preaching.
Yeah, I saw that. Is that available from the publishing house?
Yeah.
Pentecostal Publishing House.
Yep.
I've seen it in their ads and stuff, but...
And it's just various stories of pastors and how they got the call to preach.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's a lot like, for Indiana, we have the Indiana District Men's Conference. You go to the breakfast.
Oh, yeah, those are always great.
Yeah, and you actually get to hear one-on-one kind of personal stories from the pastor.
I think Scott Graham did that one year. Yeah. It was really great.
Scott Graham actually wrote a chapter in this book. So it's actually it's by Jonathan McClintock, but he's more like the editor. It's actually other pastors have contributed to it, and so it's actually really good. So
that's interesting.
Those two I definitely recommend if you're pursuing ministry. General Christian books, I've read. I love Francis Chan, and Crazy Love and Erasing Hell are probably my two favorite books by him.
And I have a couple of his books. I've never finished one though. I've started it, and for whatever reason I got distracted. I never finished it, but it's still on my Crazy Love, still on my shelf.
Yeah, Crazy Love is excellent. Erasing Hell was kind of a rebuttal, if you will, to Rob Bell's Love Wins.
I wondered. I figured it was. I assumed that, but I never read it.
But it's still good.
Actually, I never read either one of those. And I think I have them both, but I never read them.
Yeah. Of course, I also like, and he's another kind of stilted writer, but he's highly intelligent, is Timothy Keller.
Oh, yeah.
The Reason for God.
Okay.
It's an excellent book. Especially if you're into like apologetics and learning how to defend the faith.
Right.
I definitely recommend that. Of course, C.S. Lewis.
Oh my gosh!
I can't say enough about him.
I didn't even know where to start. Really, so I didn't.
Of course, Mere Christianity.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, and I think some of his one-off books, like The Four Loves and like The Problem of Pain, The Great Divorce.
I like The Four Loves. I've never read the other two you mentioned, but.
And then, of course, Screwtape Letters, if you enjoy, like, fiction, too, I think, in Christian fiction.
Yeah. Well, and Chronicles of Narnia is for kids, but sure. I'll read it again, it's great, so.
Let's see. Also...
I actually have a book called The Quotable Lewis, and it's just a whole book of C.S. Lewis quotes.
Okay.
And it's really great. I've used that quite a bit.
I have another one on the bookshelf of C.S. Lewis or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's like his from the personal library of C.S. Lewis, I think is what it is. But it's actually just his influence. Like someone had compiled a bunch of some of his poetry, some of its scripture, some of it's just excerpts from different
the stuff that he's
read. Yeah. And so what's on his bookshelf? Someone compiled a book about it. It's pretty good. Oh, there's one other here. Oh, A.W. Tozer.
Yeah.
The Pursuit of God and The Pursuit of Man are really good. And actually, I tell you, I read a biography of A.W. Tozer, and I highly enjoyed that too. I don't know. I tend to like biographies a lot more, especially pastors, because I like it. To me, unfortunately, we tend to put them up on a pedestal, and
exactly. That's part of the problem again. With the not being honest, church not being honest,
and we tend to have put an image on them, and
now we have expectations that aren't realistic,
right? And so it's nice to go back and read. And like I said, the Stephen Curtis Chapman book was the same way. Biographies are nice to read because you kind of understand that they're just human and, you know, the lives that they led. And
we get a sense of who they are and why.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, like, this list can go on forever, but just one more. This book really kind of shaped me. The Man I Am Today was called Wild at Heart by
I have that
John Eldredge.
I have that and not read it.
Yeah, it's a book I've given away. It's, you know, I've really enjoyed it, and it's really, really, really good book to know how to be a man, but a Christian man.
Right.
And, you know, we can be a manly man, go out and conquer the world, but still be loving and emotional. And
I think, you know, and whatever your personality is,
right.
If being Christ-like isn't a foundational part of that, then you're not going to be effective.
Right. Sure. So these are just a few of our recommendations. The list is exhaustive, obviously. And like I said, I think we should put a blog post or do some kind of list.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do that. We'll do a blog post about it and do a list. Maybe we can do like a top 10 list. Yeah. Or something like that from each of us. Yeah. And I'll put that on. I'll do one on my blog. You can do one on your blog. Sure. And then we'll put them on our page too. Yeah. So compiled. Yeah. So look forward to that. I think we're going to have some really interesting interviews coming up. I'll throw that out there. We have, and I won't tell you who all the people are yet, but a couple of actually 3, I think, apostolic authors. A couple who have new books either out or coming out. A guy who's not apostolic, but who's a music industry guy, Christian music industry guy from, late or probably early 2000s. Really influential in Christian rock scene. And has a book coming out, and he's going to be on our podcast coming up really soon. Looking forward to that. Again, he's not apostolic, but he is very much, actually his whole thing now is about being spirit-led. Yeah. And it'll be interesting. Very interesting conversation, I'm thinking, with him. So looking forward to the next couple months, probably, with a lot of interviews. And then I think we're going to start a doctrine series.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm looking forward to that as well. And we kind of, earlier this year, we kind of sat down and come up with a list of topics, episodes, but we have several series in the future. And
they're still open to, a series that we might have 10 lessons or 10 things for, but we might do 5. Yeah. But if you have a great suggestion, we might throw a 6th one in there or whatever.
Absolutely. And
we'd love to hear feedback.
Definitely.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you can find us on social media at 2 Pentecostals. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also check our website, 2pentecostals.com, for show notes, news, and links to Bryce and I's blogs. Also, it really helps us out if you can go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, hopefully 5 stars, and leave a review. It really helps us get found in the rankings, and we truly appreciate it. See you next time on 2 Pentecostals and a Microphone.